you can legally buy them to keep as a pet. So I'm gonna buy 6 piranhas, build them a home, and test to see if they're actually as vicious as the movies. We've all seen piranhas in movies depicted as these crazy, evil fish that will eat anything they lay their eyes on. But despite how deadly they're made out to be, for some reason, made them out to be. Meaning, yes, I will be putting my hand inside of their tank. What could go wrong? Let's just buy this thing. And so literally the next day, the delivery van dropped off the package that supposedly had the cold-blooded killing piranhas. That was fast. I'm hoping all these guys survived the shipping, since as you can see, it's pretty cold out. But anyways, let's get these inside. So I got out this 20-gallon tank I had laying around and filled it up with some cycled water. Then I cut open the tape on the box that had the piranhas inside. Oh shoot, bro. There is literally piranhas right under my hand. Let me take this bag out. And oh, I cannot believe I'm gonna be keeping these as pets. What the heck? Thankfully, every single piranha had survived the shipping, so I put all 6 of them into the tank. But when I put them in, I realized they were barely moving and definitely not acting like normal vicious piranhas. And look, I can literally drop a cricket into the water, and usually they would go crazy immediately eating that up. But check it out, no reaction at all. You see, the reason they're not moving is because they need a way bigger tank with all the right stuff inside. So I got out a new tank and filled it with 100 pounds of sand. We gotta do this because of course the first step is creating the floor and decorations. To continue this process, I started to use these sort of thin sticks and use a hot glue gun to hang them from the top of the enclosure. You see, these piranhas that I bought are red-bellied piranhas, which are supposedly the most vicious species, and they live in the Amazon River where there's all these roots and stuff hanging in the water. So that's what I'm trying to recreate in here with this. Anyways, next up, it was time to use even more wood. You see, this time I want to stack up some thicker wood to make it look like a massive tree trunk is growing from out of the water. So I actually took the wood out and used some water-safe spray foam to connect all the pieces together with some branches coming off of them. And then once all the spray foam and stuff on it has dried, we just plop it in there like that. And boom, there we go. Check it out. You can even see the roots and stuff. It's pretty cool. It looks like a tree, but there's still a bit more decorations we have to put inside of here. First of all, you guessed it, just some more wood randomly scattered around, but then some rocks because pretty much every Amazon riverbed has them. And finally, some pebbles like this, which I dropped around the enclosure, and some even tinier little pebbles, which I also dropped around the enclosure, which makes the sand across the whole thing look a little more realistic. Well, I'd say this is a pretty good start to the base of the tank, but now it's time for the fun part. Let's go get some aquatic plants for this. Oh man, this is already the most plants I've gotten for a video, and that's not even including this big bag of leftover plants Petco had. Anyways, I went and put each of the plants in the sand across the tank and filled it up with a bit of water. That way the roots of the plants could stay nice and moist while we continued building. Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, this vine thing. Let's just put this across the branches like that, and oh yeah, check it out. It looks like a vine. Well, next up, as you can see, I've left this little area here empty. That's because I want to build a graveyard here with a ton of skulls and stuff because apparently piranhas are deadly. So I drove out to buy some. Okay, I'm at PetSmart first and I found this skull decoration, so I'm gonna get that. Ooh, and they got a tiny little animal skull. I'm definitely gonna get that too. So I bought those and a couple more decorations with skeletons on them. Then after getting home, I put some of the larger skulls around in the sand. I even replaced some of the rocks in the back with them so this place would look extra spooky. Then with these tiny little skull beads, I'm gonna go and plant them around in the sand just like that. Then I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of sand on top so it looks like they've been buried. And there we go. Check the graveyard out. It actually looks pretty good. Bunch of skulls on the floor, all those other big skulls. Yeah, I like it. And now finally, to finish this tank, we gotta do the DIY technologies. And for the first one, I have one of my coolest ideas ever. Threw all that food I just bought into the blender and blended it up. After it was done, as you can see, it turned into this nasty liquid stuff. But anyways, I sucked the liquid up into this syringe thing and brought it over to the tank. Okay, this might seem kind of complex, but it's actually genius. You see, I can basically squirt some of this around in the water and it just spreads the scent around. And what I'm gonna do is attach it to the side of the enclosure, and whenever I want to get the piranhas mad and in hunting mode, I just squirt a little bit of this out the end and it'll make them go absolutely crazy. So I attached that to the side of the tank with some glue, and then it was done. And now the next technology is these two water pumps and some bubble walls that I started to set up across the whole back of the tank. You see, right now this stuff does nothing, but once I fill up the entire tank with some cycled water, which took a long time because of how big it was, check out what it can do. All right, now if I go and plug in these pumps, as you can see, it starts to make bubbles at the back of the enclosure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But basically this little air pump just blows air into this tube, which goes into there. But what I could actually do is unattach that and just blow into this myself to make bubbles. That was cool. Anyways, the last technology is this little fish. I'm just kidding. I've actually already shown this in a video before. So what I've got is the upgraded version. Yeah, this one's way bigger and way cooler. Which, as you can see, if I just go and put it in the water like this, it starts to swim around like a normal fish. And yeah, I just think it'd be funny if I maybe tested the piranhas to see if they try to eat it or something. Anyways, this tank is now complete. And speaking of the piranhas, it's time to get them inside. Okay, I'm gonna try my best to not get bit here. Oh, no. So I grabbed the temporary tank they were in and brought it over to their new home so I could scoop them out. Okay, they definitely look more aggressive than the first time I did this, but I'm just gonna carefully scoop one guy out just like that. Oh shoot, he's mad, but I'm just gonna put him into the new tank, and there you go. Be free, my friend. New home. So I did that same process with the other 5, and there we go. The piranhas were in their new home. And as you could guess, immediately they packed up like piranhas do and looked as though they were already on the hunt for food once again. Well, these piranhas look pretty hungry, I'm not gonna lie, or maybe piranhas are just always hungry. So now I'm gonna feed them the first of 5 different food sources to see which they like the most, the first of which being mealworms. And before feeding them the mealworms, if you remember, I had this pipe with the delicious juice inside, which I went and squirted inside to let the piranhas know it was feeding time. And as you could guess, they immediately started to go up and eat it, which kind of made a mess, but yeah, they were loving it. Oh my gosh, do you see that? They're all gathering around the little area where I just put it in. So now that they were ready, I dropped in the mealworms and one started to sink down. 2 of the piranhas noticed it and kind of took nibbles at it, but they were kind of just playing around with it more than they were actually eating it. And that same thing kept happening with most of mealworms, but that was until I saw this, where 3 of them took turns devouring it up, and yeah, this one actually got eaten. Okay, well, mealworms, I'm gonna give about like a 2 out of 10 on how much the piranhas like them. But as you can see, second on the list, we're gonna be feeding them crickets. Now, if you remember at the start, the piranhas wanted nothing to do with the crickets, but let's see how they'll react now that they're in this new tank. So I dropped in just one, and because it was just floating there, I grabbed it with tweezers to show the piranhas. Instantly, you could see they picked up the memo that this was alive, and they sort of started to nibble it like the mealworms. But not even a single piranha actually took a big enough bite to eat this cricket. Okay, that was pretty bad. The crickets, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10 because the mealworms, they at least did eat some of them. I guess these piranhas just don't really like insects, so that's why I'm gonna rapid fire the next 2 off. Here you can see I've got salmon and ground beef, which is a lot more smelly. They better like this. I started by waving the salmon around in the water until the piranhas noticed it, and once a few started to come up and nibble it, I accidentally dropped it into the sand where all the rest of the piranhas came swimming up. They huddled around it like a pack of hyenas and started to actually take little chunks out of the piece for them to eat. So I did the same thing with the ground beef and held it in the water. And this time the piranhas were even more interested, and instantly the entire pack huddled around it and took turns taking their bites out of it. I even noticed that the scraps of it had fallen onto the floor and were getting surrounded by the piranhas too. Well, dang, I'm gonna give the salmon an 8 out of 10 and the ground beef a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, they loved that so much, but that doesn't mean I gotta do my hand now. I said I would do it in the intro, so, you know, let's just do it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Start the timer. Let's see how long I can keep it in here. Right away, nothing really happened because none of the piranhas were near my hand. But I knew this was kind of cheating, so I moved my hand closer, where right away, one sort of noticed me and actually started to chase my hand as I moved it away to avoid getting bit. So of course, I moved my hand back over to the pack, where some of them definitely got sort of close to biting me, but they were nowhere near as aggressive as they were towards the beef. You see, it's actually a common misconception that piranhas are evil towards humans like all the movies say. But to be honest, if you're a viewer watching this, I would not personally test test it. I'm just crazy, so please subscribe for risking my hand for this content. Well, these piranhas are going to be crazy pets, and thankfully they're pretty easy to feed. Thanks for watching, and if you want to watch another video, click the video on the screen. See you later, goodbye, and subscribe. Thanks, bye. This is 50 Venus flytrap plants, and in this video, I'm gonna put 1,000 flies in the same container as them. Will the sheer number of flies trick the traps, causing them to close, or are the flies just simply cooked?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I bought this.
This is 1,000 fly larvae. Yeah, might look extremely nasty, but over the next week, as long as I feed them food, they should all turn into flies so I can do this test.
So while we wait for these guys to turn into flies, obviously I have all of these Venus flytraps. But I also have tons of other carnivorous plants that you may have never even seen before. Meaning I'm gonna be able to do tons of different tests in this video. It's gonna be super cool.
And for test number 1, I wanna show you guys the smallest Venus flytraps.
Now, I know it may sound stupid, but I promise you how they work and catch insects is actually really insane. Let me show you how they work.
And yeah, it's not a joke how small these things are, because when compared to normal Venus flytraps, the jaws are about 10 times smaller. And in fact, they're kinda cute, to be honest.
But since these are minuscule, the normal prey I feed in my videos is not gonna cut it. Yeah, sorry cricket, you get to live another day. That's why instead, I got literally the smallest thing available.
These are flightless fruit flies, which if you've seen my channel before, you know they're pretty much the most useless animal. Cause seriously, bro, how are you a fly that doesn't have the ability to fly? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I put the smallest Venus flytraps in the testing enclosure, then I put one of these flies inside to see if he'd get caught. Start the timer. Now this fly didn't waste any time, because it immediately walked straight up to one of the Venus flytrap pots and then started to walk all over the tops of the jaws, absolutely risking his life. You may already know this, but normal Venus flytraps work by having these super tiny trigger hairs inside of them that when a bug or something touches them, it snaps shut. But these traps are obviously the smallest in the world. Because of that, they have extremely small trigger hairs. And I'm talking so small that if I zoom in like 100x on this footage, they're so thin, my camera can't even pick them up. And I guess the trigger hairs were quite literally so thin that every time this flightless fruit fly walked inside the jaw of a trap, the jaw didn't close at all, and the fly was able to just walk out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. These flightless fruit flies weigh about 0.0003 grams. So yeah, I guess the traps quite literally can't even be triggered by how light their weight is.
Yeah, clearly the fruit flies aren't gonna work. So instead, I got the world's smallest cricket instead to test. Let's see if this works any better.
And oh boy, let me just tell you, things were a lot more interesting this time around. Because once again, the cricket walked straight up to one of the trap pots and started climbing all over the tops once again. But this time, quite literally within 30 seconds, the cricket happened to put his face up to the lip of one of the Venus flytraps. You may also already know this, but these plants produce a special kind of nectar around the lips of their jaws to lure insects in like this cricket. And you can see it was working pretty well, because this cricket was just absolutely slurping this nectar up. But he was getting a bit too distracted, because he then stepped into the trap, probably stepping on the micro trigger hairs, which then caused the jaws of it to close. But the cricket was too fast, and he was barely able to make it out with his life. Dang, that was a close call, but you can see how quickly that can all happen. And yeah, don't worry guys, because there's only a few minutes later when the cricket did the same exact thing. He walked up to another jaw, walked straight into it, and yeah, this time the trap closed on him while he was starting to walk out, leaving half of his body now sticking out of the trap. Even though these are the smallest Venus flytraps in the world, they trap insects nearly just as well as the fully grown ones. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, while I wait for those 1,000 flies to hatch so we can do the final test, in the meantime, I want to show you some other insane carnivorous plants that you may have never seen before, with the second one being sundews.
Yep, everyone knows what Venus flytraps are, but not everyone knows what a sundew is, but they're actually pretty cool. Let me show you what they do.
So obviously, like flytraps, sundews are also a carnivorous plant, except instead of having jaws, it has these long stems with these little red hairs on the top of them. But on each of these little red hairs is a special kind of sticky glue it produces that will make it so when a fly or any other insect touches it, it gets permanently stuck because of how sticky it is.
And when an insect gets stuck on here, the trap does something insane to be able to consume the insect, which I'll show you very soon when it obviously traps an insect.
So yeah, I got multiple of these sundew plants, and I even got this slightly different kind of sundew sundew called an octopus plant. That will be cool to see if this can catch any insects as well. So let's get these in the testing chamber.
And for this, I think I'll be using a cricket once again because they're literally perfect. They can just climb up the side of the stems and yeah, just get stuck. This should be fun to watch. Let's put this dude inside.
So yeah, once again, I just started with one of these guys, but if this guy gets caught fast, I'll be adding way more inside of here. Anyways, so this cricket for the first minute kind of just wandered around the walls of the enclosure, but it wasn't long until he started heading towards the sundews. Now you see, the sticky glue that this plant produces is actually a type of nectar, which smells and tastes great to the insects. So yeah, just like how Venus flytraps lure insects in with their nectar, these traps do the same thing, because this cricket then decided to start climbing up the stem. The only thing is though that he ended up stopping right before the sticky part, and that's actually because of his antenna. You see, crickets have these pretty long antennas that help them navigate and detect danger before running into it, and this guy's antenna actually ended up getting stuck in the sticky nectar part. But using its mouth, it was able to pull the antenna back and then started to lick all the nectar off of it. Yeah, and I'm not kidding, this cricket really just sat here for like 30 minutes, constantly licking his antenna, then putting it back into the sticky nectar, and then licking it back up. He was kind of outsmarting this carnivorous plant and just getting its nectar for free. So I'm not gonna lie, I just tried to push him towards it with my tweezers since he clearly wasn't gonna do it on his own, and yeah, he just kind of ended up falling off.
Yo, what the heck? I was just trying to record that cricket and I just realized there's a jumping spider in here. Do you see that? It's on the little octopus plant. Is it stuck?
Yeah, this jumping spider just happened to wander into this enclosure by accident. I guess he was just living somewhere in my house. But since he was here, I figured I'd just watch him to see if he would get caught by the traps. And pretty quickly, he started to climb the stems of the trap and got up to the sticky part. But yeah, he was kind of too smart for this trap too and turned around the second he realized it was sticky. But it was pretty cool to watch this guy just jump around the plants. However, he never really ended up getting trapped and he ended up just climbing out of the enclosure.
All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This cricket, I've been trying to record him getting eaten for like 2 hours now. And every time right before going on the sticky part, he just stops and cleans his antenna. And yeah, he just turns around and never actually goes on the sticky part. He's too smart for this. So yeah, let me take this guy out.
Instead, I actually just got out the flightless fruit flies again, because apparently this is actually Sundew's favorite insect. And yeah, I just dumped a few on the sand, and it wasn't long until some of them started to climb all over the stems and eventually started getting stuck all over the different sticky parts. I even went and just dumped a crazy amount of these flies all over the top of the sundew plants to show you guys exactly how cool sundews really are. Because obviously, now you can see the sticky parts of the plants are just completely covered in flightless fruit flies. Now, if you're wondering how this plant actually eats the flies, well, this footage shows how. As you can see, it uses each of its red hairs to basically curl around the prey. And once all of those curl around it, the stem itself also starts to curl around the prey. This will basically ensure the fly has a 0% chance of escaping, while the plant releases basically an acid to consume it. Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see these things work. All these flies are just gonna turn into food for these plants very soon.
Alright, there's still one more major carnivorous plant type that I haven't shown yet. They're called pitcher plants.
Yep, this plant can also eat insects. And actually, how it does it is probably the most brutal out of all of them. Let me show you.
Yep, like I said, these are called pitcher plants. And similar to the last plant, they have pretty long stems that go up. But the difference is, this time, at the top, there's this little trapdoor leaf thing that if you look is actually covering a hole that leads directly down to a pit of acid at the bottom of the stem. Yep, these traps have this little hole here that's lined with a super slippery nectar on the inside. So whenever an insect walks inside, they'll slip into the acid at the bottom, and yeah.
And what's really cool is if you actually look inside of this pitcher plant, since it's kind of small and shallow, you can actually see the pool of acid at the bottom. And it actually looks like there's a couple little flies and stuff in there, which it looks like it's actually already dissolving. So yeah, it'd be cool to see some crickets or something fall in these. Let's test it out.
I didn't even need to use an enclosure this time because I knew this was going to be an extremely fast test. Because immediately after placing the cricket on this first pitcher plant, it started to climb along the sides of the red pitcher. As you can see, the inside of the plant is lined with these downward pointing hairs. This is to make it even more slippery and hard to escape. And yeah, it's kind of funny to see how fast this all happens, but the next time the cricket went to the opening of this plant, it straight up just slipped in right away. Nah, this dude had no clue this plant has evolved over millions of years to just be able to eat them this fast. Yeah, and as you can see on this footage that I recorded on my phone, he was now just sitting at the bottom of this pool of acid. Over the next few days, it'll dissolve him and turn him into nutrients for this plant to grow even stronger and larger. Nice.
And yeah, that's really all there is to these pitcher plants. plants, they're not really the most interesting thing ever. But I actually have some great news, guys, because if you look in this container, you can see many of my flies are starting to hatch.
And that means we can finally start doing some massive scale Venus flytrap tests, and eventually test as many flies as I can against all of my Venus flytraps to see who wins. Let's start very simple though, with 5 Venus flytraps versus a single fly. And let's see if this fly can get trapped in under a minute. Now I know you may be thinking, bruh, Terra Green, I don't care about one fly, this is boring. Well, don't worry, because this literally only lasted like 20 seconds. Because immediately this fly started to crawl up the side of a pot, and of course he made his way immediately into a jaw, triggered one of the hairs, and it closed directly onto him. Yup, flies are basically the one thing Venus flytraps are the best at catching. I mean, they're called Venus flytraps for a reason.
Anyways, I got the tank where the final test will be taking place, right here, obviously.
And I didn't waste any time. I just got out the flies that I've been hatching, and I put them straight into this enclosure so we could get this final test started. Quickly, I removed the lid and started the timer. Let the test begin. Now, immediately, a couple of the flies started to fly out of the container, and others started to walk out of the sides. Now, there was something weird though, because while the container had a decent amount of movement in it, only like 10 of the flies were actually leaving the container over the 4-hour time lapse here. Yeah, basically all the flies were staying in there. So I decided to just take the paper towel out that they were all on and tried to just shake off as many as I could onto the Venus flytraps. And obviously, this meant that a few of the flies were now scattered all over the traps and were actually starting to get trapped. But most of them were just being super inactive, barely moving, and not flying. I guess because they were just newly hatched flies and it takes a while for them to become normal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is kind of a fail. Basically, none of the flies are flying around, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this.
But don't worry, because my YouTube friend Flytrap Films recorded a test with an insane amount of flies super similar to this, and he wanted me to show you it. In it, you can see he has a Venus flytrap plant out, and also a bunch of rotten meat in order to attract the flies. Yeah, and it worked really well, because instantly tons of flies started to gather around this plant, and you guessed it, started to get trapped. I mean, when you have this many flies, it's a given that tons are just gonna get trapped right away. And what's so crazy is that sometimes so many would gather on some of the jaws before they close, causing up to 6 flies to get trapped in the same jaw at the same time. What? Flytrap Films himself has said that this is the most flies he's ever seen get caught at once. Also, some bonus footage for you guys. Hey, you remember those pitcher plants from earlier? Flytrap Films also did the same test with a massive pitcher plant to show you guys how effective these things are at catching flying insects. And this plant literally just looks like a vacuum cleaner sucking up all the flies, which in a way it kind of is, because every time a flying insect flaps its wings above the opening in this plant, it creates a weird kind of vacuum effect with the wind, causing the bug to actually get pulled down into it. And yup, after not too much time, this thing just caught so many flies, and it was literally just starting to overflow. That is probably the craziest performance from a carnivorous plant that I have ever seen. Thank you, Flytrap Films, for letting me show you this footage. I just found probably the most alien looking creature on Earth. It is literally a mutant creature with the mouth of a spider, the body of a scorpion, and claws that look like saws. And that's not even mentioning that it has some of the weirdest and creepiest behavior out of any animal ever. But despite how weird it is, apparently there's a website that will sell you one as a pet. After placing the order, they said they would ship it out in a few days. So in the meantime, to build the enclosure, I got out the tank and a couple big boxes of rocks. Yeah, I got a lot of rocks for this. This is because I needed them to start stacking around the outer part of the enclosure to try to make it look like a cave. You see, in the wild, tailless whip scorpions like to hide in between rocks because I guess that's just where they feel safe. I don't really know. And to connect the rocks together, I originally tried to use my handy dandy hot glue gun and, you know, glue them, but the rocks were just too heavy and it kept collapsing over and over. Oh my gosh, these stupid rocks keep falling. Yeah, it wasn't really working, so instead I resorted to using some animal safe spray foam like always, and I covered it in a bunch of the big rocks and then a bunch of tiny little rocks, and I repeated that process on the left and right side of the enclosure. and check it out. Hopefully you see the vision I'm going for. You know, there's a cave. We're making a cave. There's rocks on the walls. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Now, this is a good start. However, you'd be dumb to think this is all I'm doing. I'm making this the best enclosure ever so I can show off all the cool things the alien creature can do. It's gonna be so cool to watch. Anyways, the next step is to do the floor and decorations. And for the floor, we want it to be high quality and cheap, which is why I've got a bunch of these coconut fiber bricks, which are about to expand into a ton of dirt. Seriously, these are so cool. You just add a big tub of water like this. Ooh, I'm getting that everywhere. And over time, it's gonna start to absorb that water and they're gonna expand and become a bunch of dirt, you know? And boom, look at that. It went from those boring bricks to this nice, moist dirt. Yeah, boy. Okay, maybe it's not that cool, but you know, it's dirt. It's pretty necessary. To top off the floor, I mixed in some wood chips, dead leaves, some moss, and a couple rocks. Now, apparently the alien creature I'm getting has the ability to dig burrows out in this dirt with its claws, but I have no idea if mine's gonna do that, so hopefully it does. That would be pretty dang cool to watch. Now, to decorate the enclosure, I got these super thin sticks and started to glue them along the top. As you can see, they kind of look like tree roots, which adds this cool effect to the build that makes it look like there's trees growing above this cave. Nice. And of course, this wouldn't be a Terra Green enclosure without some plants in here, which as you can see, I've got a few of. Now, these plants are actually super important because water droplets will gather on top of the leaves, which will easily allow the alien creature to sip them up and get hydrated, which, you know, is good. You know, we gotta make sure he can drink water and stuff. But while I was at Walmart getting the plants, I also found this absolutely majestical stone statue of an alien.
Hi, how are you?
Because, you know, we're putting a tailless whip scorpion inside of here, which is basically an alien. So yeah, I put that in to finish off the decorations. Bruh, this guy's got a big forehead. That's a real shame. Thankfully, my forehead isn't that big. Okay, the first 3 steps are all complete, but now it's time to get some technology in this enclosure to make it stand out. The first of which is this big machine right here, which can do something very cool. To get it to work, I had to fill up this container with a bunch of water, and after it was filled up, I put it back on top and finally twisted this knob right here. And now check this out. Out of the end of this tube, a bunch of smoke, as you can see, or fog, not smoke. It'd probably be bad if there's smoke coming out of it. Dang, that is actually cool. Like, it just comes out. I don't know how a machine just turns water into fog. That's pretty cool. Anyways, this is actually very useful since as long as I turn this on about once a day, it will keep the humidity levels at a good spot for this enclosure. Also, it's just cool and adds to the cave ambience, you know? And speaking of cave ambience, this next technology is gonna add to it even more. It's this super tiny Bluetooth speaker, which I buried in the dirt and covered with a leaf. With this, all I gotta do is connect it to my phone with Bluetooth, and I can play stuff like cave noises, which is pretty cool. You know, adds to the cave ambience. But of course, I don't have to make this speaker just play cave noises. I can make it play literally anything, like the most annoying sound in the world, 1 hour. What is this sound? What? This is so stupid. Okay, definitely wasn't lying. This is probably the most annoying sound in the world. I don't think the alien's gonna like this if I play this when he's in here. Okay, I get it. Can you just turn off by now? Turn off. Okay. Oh, okay. Please turn off. Please. Okay, anyways, this enclosure is finished enough to be able to add the tailless whip scorpion alien creature in here. So yeah. Well, I just went and picked up this package. It says live animals, and you know, I'm pretty sure it's the alien. Now, as you guys know, this thing is insanely creepy. I mean, I showed you that video of it literally crawling out of its skin. So this is definitely gonna be my most creepiest pet. But anyways, let's get this in the enclosure I built for it, and let's go, baby. So I got out a knife and opened the package up. And oh, here it is. Because you can't really see anything. There's paper towels everywhere. Okay, hold on. Let me open this up. I then very carefully removed the lid and paper towels to expose the alien creature. Oh my gosh. This thing is gonna jump out at me. I have no idea. I'm just gonna close the glass though. Yeah, get that closed. Thank you very much. Now, at first, it was completely still, and actually, I couldn't even tell if it was alive. But eventually, I noticed signs of movement, and then soon enough, it fully started to climb out of its container. Very creepily, it slowly made its way over to a rock to go into hiding. But it wasn't just any rock. Of course, it was the rock with the alien statue on top. Bruh. Well. I told you guys this was an alien. Only an alien would go under the rock with an alien on top of it. But anyways, as I said at the start of the video, I'm gonna be pranking my mom with this thing. But before I do something like that, let's just see what it's capable of by trying to feed it something. I don't know. Let's just put some food in here though. And after doing some research, it turns out that tailless whip scorpions absolutely love crickets. And thankfully, I always have a bag of crickets since all my favorite pets eat them. And immediately after putting them in, they actually all looked very happy. These stupid crickets really thought that this was their new home and they were just going around eating moss. Well, little did they know that this home actually belongs to my tailless whip scorpion. And unfortunately for one of the crickets, it made a wrong turn. It walked straight into the crevice of the rock that the alien creature was sitting inside. I thought for sure that that cricket was a goner, but miraculously, about a minute later, it walked out the rock unscathed. A little later, I saw the alien creature in a different spot hanging onto a wall. And just like before, a cricket walked straight up to it. And in fact, this cricket was extra stupid. He started to walk right in front of the alien's literal mouth. Bruh. But for some reason, the tailless whip scorpion was not eating it at all. Okay, it's the next day and I figured out why the alien creature in here isn't eating. It's because this species is partly nocturnal, and as you can see, I just have massive studio lights shining super brightly on here. I guess he just doesn't want to eat in the light. So anyways, I want to let this guy just kind of adjust to the new home for about a week, and I guess I'll just come back then and we can do the rest of the stuff. In the meantime, here's this cool video by Aquarimax Pets of the same species eating, if you're wondering what that looks like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyways, let's get back to the content. Okay, this is the absolute best part of the video because I'm gonna show my mom this alien creature and then I'm gonna prank her. And if you're wondering how I'm gonna prank her, just take a look at this thing. It's basically a one-on-one model of the tailless whip scorpion. And yeah, I'm basically just gonna throw it at her. She is not gonna be happy. But anyway, she's not home right now, so I guess I'll just cut to when she is and we'll show her this. Okay, you can come in. Alright, so I just got a new pet, and I just want to show you it. Okay. Now come stand over here, and you can try and tell what it is. I just want you to guess what kind of pet I got.
Oh my gosh, it looks super cool. Where's it at?
Can you see anything in there?
I'm trying, my heart is.
Okay, well, it's hidden behind this rock, but...
Shut up, dude.
Do you know what it is?
No.
If you look very closely back under that rock, there's something right there.
Oh my god, dude, I'm scared.
For some reason, she couldn't really see it, so I gently woke it up with a spatula, and here's her reaction.
Oh my god, dude! What the heck is this?
You see that?
Seriously? No, no, yeah, that's alien and mindfulness. Oh,
it's an alien in there.
My goodness.
Anyways, I have this fog machine, so we can put some fog on it, and that's pretty cool.
That's super cool, but seriously, where did that come from?
I don't know, the space or something?
Space.
Okay, anyways, that's all I gotta show you. Do you think it's cool?
No, dude, it looks so freaking weird. Yeah, it looks like evil.
Well, it's a good thing you'll never have to see it again. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Now that she had seen it and left, I got the one-on-one model out and put it on my hand. This is gonna be really funny.
Okay, could you come back in here? I just forgot to show you one thing.
Oh my god, dude! Dude, Daddy, no, no, go away!
Yeah.
Such a joke, that's not even real.
Yeah, it's just a piece of paper.
Oh my god.
What do you rate it out of 10?
Oh my gosh. Whew, I don't know, I'm still confused.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so she rated it in I don't know, I'm still confused out of 10, which translates to probably a 10 out of 10. So yeah, I guess she likes it and I'm gonna have to get more animals like this. This is the world's largest beetle, and this is my finger. And in this video, I'll be putting to the test how strong these beetles really are. And I'll also be showing you the craziest centipede species, insane alien looking bugs, and so many other cool insects, starting with an assassin bug.
Assassin
That sounds deadly. That sounds deadly. They kind of are kind of cool. Let me show you why. So I let these assassin bugs loose into a little enclosure I built for them, and now we can get a clear look. What makes these creatures so cool is if you look here, they have this weird, sharp mouth. This is called a rock. Using it, they can pierce into their prey, inject a special kind of digestive venom into the prey, then using the rostrum, they slurp the insides of the prey up like a smoothie. It's insane stuff. And as you can see, I have multiple of these guys because I got a special kind of species that are able to live and hunt together.
You probably see why they're called assassin bugs now. So let's feed them a cricket and document their
hunting. Now I knew this wasn't going to last long because assassin bugs are some of the best hunters. And I was right. Immediately, this cricket happened to climb up the very piece of bark that all the assassin bugs were hiding. And one of them was on the lookout and instantly spotted the cricket. Now it was time to hunt. Like real assassins who
stealthily assassin bugs do the same. And this guy extremely slowly inches his target, and as the gap closed, the assassin awaited the perfect opportunity to pounce onto the cricket, was now in the grasp of the assassin. Right away, you can see the rush from the cricket. The inside of this cricket is now being turned into a juicy for this assassin bug to slurp up. Yep, sounds yummy.
Alright, let me get this lid on. I don't want these guys biting me in my sleep or anything. I finally got one, even though they're all extremely venomous, but oh boy, let me show you this guy.
Yeah, I didn't get a small one.
I finally got one, even though they're all extremely venomous, but oh boy, let me show you this guy.
Yeah, I didn't get a small one either. I got one of the these guys are pretty evil, because right away he started to try and climb the sides of the container to escape. And as you can tell, these guys are pretty evil, because right away he started to try and climb the sides of the container to escape. Which I definitely these guys usually live in desert environments, so we're gonna use a bit of sand for this enclosure, but also a solid mix of dirt and other natural stuff, because it's actually what gives them the best conditions in their enclosure. Then we want to give this guy some nice natural stuff to hide under, and finally a couple skulls in here to signify how deadly these guys are to other insects.
Alright, let's get this centipede in the enclosure. I get to show you guys how insane of a pet they are. Let me get him in this enclosure.
Now these guys usually live in desert environments, so we're going to use a bit of sand for this enclosure, but also a solid mix of dirt and other natural stuff, because it's actually what gives them. Anyways, this dude immediately got to walk. Then we want to give this guy some nice natural stuff to hide under, and finally a couple skulls in here. They're called centipedes because centa means 100, and they basically got like 100 legs. But not exactly 100, because I actually did count how many legs this guy had, and it was only 40. So yeah, their name is a lie, it's not 100, but I mean, it's still a lot.
It's so cool to watch these guys walk around, but it's even cooler to watch them eat. So you already know. I got it.
Anyways, this dude immediately got to walk around his enclosure, and what makes these guys so cool is obviously interesting. Like I dropped the cricket directly next to the centipede's face, but thankfully for the cricket, the centipede was distracted, and so the cricket not exactly 100 past his face, and kind of just this guy had, and then he kind of just started to write it like a train. Not 100, but you gotta be careful because this train
is so cool to watch these guys walk around, but it's even cooler to watch them.
And I was correct, because only 30 seconds later, the centipede once again came across the cricket, and this time things immediately were interesting. So I dropped the cricket directly in the direction the cricket face. So I also followed the centipede with my camera, and that's when I saw the two straight past his face, and this time the centipede made his attack. And then he kind of started to ride it like a train. As I looked around, you gotta be careful because this train as well is definitely about to escape, because he was now in the grass. And I was correct. This is only 30 seconds later. The centipede once again came across the cricket, and this time, even though you are a little bit creepy, it's actually the centipede started to follow in the direction the cricket ran. And so I also followed the centipede with my camera, and that's when I saw the two met again. And this time the centipede made his attack. The cricket tried to escape through the logs, but if I had to, I would just say it's a very tickly. Pretty clear as you can see, each one of the legs on the millipede is almost of this insane, which lets it get a really good of the desert and what it's standing on. But yeah, good job, centipede. Even though you are a little bit creepy, it's a lame millipede for this video. I balled out and got the most massivest millipede of all time, called a giant African millipede, which yeah, isn't really a very creative name. They just kind of said it's giant, where it's from, and that it's a millipede. But yeah, I'm not gonna complain. I guess it's easy to remember.
Now, there's just one problem, because the place I bought this from specifically said in the description, do not use cocoa fiber. Now, if you didn't know, cocoa fiber is basically like the holy grail of dirt for terrarium builders. It's just like a special kind of dirt that holds humidity very well, I guess. But yeah, it's like unheard of to not use this. Oh my gosh, the sensation of like these 300, the sensation of like these
cocoa fiber was all I had. I drove to the greatest store of all time. And if I had to, I would just say it's a very. If I had to, I would just say it's a dirt that is a leg of cocoa fiber. Each one of the legs on the millipede lets it get a really good rip, which lets it standing on, which just starts standing on the millipede tank. It's just such a weird
which I'll show you very soon.
So when I got back home, I started mixing together all my new dirt materials. All these materials I chose are specifically designed to hold just as much moisture as the cocoa fiber, if not more, which as you can see, makes this super duper moisty.
Alright, it's perfect that it's now super wet, because if it was
was too dry, the millipede would not survive very long. They dry out super easily. So yeah, I'll have to spray this thing a lot to make sure it's always nice and moist.
But since we have to keep this so wet, mold might actually grow on the sides of the enclosure. That's where my secret ingredient comes in.
I got springtails. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you probably don't think it's that cool, but bruh, I mean, I still think they're cool, okay? Be free, boys.
Yeah, springtails are just these super tiny white bugs that will go around and clean up mold if it grows. So yeah, they're perfect. Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of cork bark around to decorate the place and add some cover.
There we go. This is a fantastical millipede enclosure. Let's go ahead and get this guy inside.
You see, I didn't just get some lame millipede. You see, I didn't just get some lame millipede. I got the most amazing. After he felt a giant enough, he uncurled up a giant. I got the creative name. This isn't really a giant name. It's not really much to talk about with you guys. Unfortunately, I'm not going to kind of just walk around and don't complain. The main thing that makes it cool and also similar to centipedes is the crazy amount of size. An average millipede has way more legs than a centipede. As you can see, very nice. I got to like the enclosure for like 30 minutes. Eventually, once you just very well, I guess, it's like unheard of. It's like unheard of. And he'll basically chill there for like 90% of his life. So this cocoa fiber was all I had. I drove to the greatest store I had. I drove to the greatest store of all time. There, I got a special kind of dirt that is there. I got special fiber dirt that is not cocoa fiber. I also got some wood chip. The reason I say that is like wood chip and a bit of straight up has the body and claws of a scorpion. So when I got back home, I started mixing together. So when I got back home, I started mixing together all my materials that chose our specific all these materials that chose our specific cocoa fiber, cocoa fiber, it's not more,
and if you separate the words that is now super wet, or if it's too dry, the millipede, I don't know what it was too dry, the millipede, to be honest, the reason it has vinegar and its name is because this creature has the ability to keep the so wet. Mold might actually grow mold might actually grow. That's where my secret out of it. Spray all over the ground, actually lining them. I got springtails. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you probably showing you guys exactly what that looks like. Let's go ahead and
springtails are just these super tiny white bugs. Are just these round tiny white bugs that will go around. Thankfully, I can just go. Finally, I just put in some tiny bits of yeah. Finally, I about 1/3 of the way up. And then I spliced some
This is a fantastical
this time I want to go greenery enclosure.
Let's go ahead and
moss and spread. I love this stuff because while it might look pretty dry right now, all it needs is a nice after he felt comfortable enough, and got curled up as long as all and got to now. There's not really much to talk about with now, guys. There's not really much to talk about with these guys walk around. Don't they kind of just gels around? The main thing that makes centipedes and also similar to centipedes is the average millipede has a way more legs than a centipede. I got to wander around the enclosure for like like 30 minutes. But eventually his burrows under the floor, like drop burrow under the floor, and he'll basically chill there for like 9 and he'll basically chill there for like 10 or so life. Let me get a water dish.
That guy was thirsty. He instantly went and tried to get some water, so I'm just gonna go put that one nice in the corner.
So yeah, I filled that up with a bit of water.
This is the closest thing to a
you want to make sure the water dishes are very shallow.
And it's extremely cool.
Not super smart. If the water dish was too deep, they might fall in and drown. And the reason I say that, but anyways, my guy was having a lot of fun exploring. It straight up has the body and claws of a scorpion, a tail that looks like
maybe he'll even shoot his acid. I don't know, but they are nocturnal, so yeah, I mean, he might not even eat at all. But you already know, I got probably the weirdest thing about this creature is in its name, because it's called a vinegaroon, and if you separate the words in there, there's vinegar
some action could theoretically I don't know what the part of its name means, my other videos, but the reason it has vinegar in its name is you probably know that they straight up ability when not eat during the day. Yeah, they'd rather let shoot a special right next to their mouth vinegar out of them to spray all over this vinegaroon. It was a different story. So right after a minute of the cricket standing next to him, I know,
and I'll be showing you guys exactly what that looks like. Let's get him in his enclosure so we can show it off.
That means this vinegaroon was in hunting mode, and the next time the cricket came by, I noticed the vinegaroon used his little antenna to locate the location of the way of the cricket, and then I stepped over pieces of wood and but unfortunately, this time I wanted to add some greenery, so however, a bit later, I noticed that the vinegaroon had found a little water dish. While it might look pretty dry right now, all it needs is a nice little spray bath, and I guess he was getting a bit more of this stuff will just grow super fast over time, as long as I keep this enclosure. And when the two creatures got a little bit closer, the vinegaroon once again struck and missed, but this time he was not going to give up and chased the cricket down to finally get a hold of it, all while splashing around in the water. And yeah, immediately after Bro now had it inside, he ran straight up to the glass to get a nice little drink of water, started devouring it. It's pretty cool to see him using his claws to shovel the
Now,
drops
unfortunately,
of
he
water
didn't use his
into
acid
mouth.
vinegar
So, yeah,
spray
then,
thing,
I
and
guess
that's
he was
because I
pretty
think they
thirsty.
only
Oh,
use
yeah,
that
bro, I
for
almost
defense. And
forgot. Let me get
obviously,
a
I
water
don't want to
dish
stress
in there.
this
That
guy
guy was
out.
thirsty.
I'm not going
He
to force him to
instantly
do it,
went
but I
and
will
tried
show
to
you
get
guys
some
this
water,
very
so I'm just
cool
gonna go
footage
put
of them
that
doing it.
in
Watch
the
this.
corner.
So basically, like I was saying earlier, they are structures like vinegaroons. You want to make sure their water dishes are very shallow. The vinegar sprays out super smart. After the water dish spray out, and it also has absolutely insane aim. But anyways, my guy was having a lot of fun exploring on his new tweezers that was holding it.
Now I want to check
Basically,
out
any
if
sort
this
of
guy's
predator
going
in
to
the
try
wild
and
will
eat.
not
Maybe he'll
mess
even
with
shoot
this
his
thing if it
acid.
gets
I don't
sprayed.
know, but
It's
they
a
are
genius
nocturnal,
ability
so
from
yeah, I mean, he might not even
Yeah,
eat
I
at
put a
all.
lid on
But
this
you already
enclosure,
know, I
and
got a
boom,
little cricket.
this is a
Crickets
pet
led me,
vinegaroon.
obviously.
I
Let's
have
drop
the
this guy
largest
in.
beetle species
Bye-bye.
in
I
dropped the cricket directly but I also have this one with some action could theoretically happen, and this one that's pretty tiny. My other videos with nocturnal animals.
Now I'll be starting with the smallest beetle and testing the weakest objects in this guy's mouth. As the beetles get bigger, the objects will get
right next to
bigger
their
too.
mouth.
Until at the end, I'm going to be putting my
But with this
finger in this
vinegaroon,
guy's
it was a
mouth.
different story because right after a
Thankfully,
minute of the
I get to
cricket
start
standing
with this
next to
little
him,
guy.
I noticed he actually started to
This is called
spread
a
towards
rainbow
the cricket
beetle.
well, it's the smallest beetle I have. That means this vinegaroon was in hunting mode. If you look very next time the cricket came by, I noticed the vinegaroon uses little not that many animals to have a location like this. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I already built this guy a little enclosure. But unfortunately, he also even though this place is pretty small, however, a bit later I noticed that the vinegaroon had found the little water dish I put in there for. He
Now,
then
the first
proceeded to
object
walk
I'm going
into
to
the
test with
water,
this guy
take a
is a
bath,
little
and I guess he was getting a
pack
bit
of
more of a
jelly.
drink
Technically, this
too,
won't
but the
test their
cricket
strength,
was
but I just want to show you how they
directly
eat.
next to
It's actually
him
pretty
still. And when the
interesting.
two creatures got a little bit closer, because while they got their mandibles once again, this is missed, but this time their mouth is actually under the mandibles right down to finally get a hold of it. The reason they have mandibles is so in the wild, the males can fight each other, and whoever wins the fight gets to go home with the female. And yeah, he just started devouring it to jelly right in front of this guy. And these guys love sweet stuff like jelly or fruit. And in fact, I think this jelly is banana flavored, which is one of the beetle's favorite foods. So I thought this dude was just going to start devouring it up right away. But in fact, he seemed kind of defensive and actually started attacking it like I was saying earlier. They also really kind of started to shove it in his face. I think he got a little taste of it, and then he seemed very happy. Pretty cool. He actually started, and it also had it, and it's actually very cool to see how like here the vinegaroon was able to really just suck on and hit the tweezers that was holding it.
So basically, let's close this for now, and let's actually go and get out our second beetle, which is this guy. And he has
I put a lid on this enclosure, and this is called a giraffe
stag
beetle. So yeah, this is also a stag beetle like the one before, but a slightly different version with these way larger mandibles. That if you actually look at them, are also way sharper. I have the largest beetle species in the world. Way stronger. But I also have this one with, and of course, I already got sharp mandibles, and this one that's pretty tiny.
All right,
but
now for the object for this guy to crush, I'll be starting with the smallest beetle and testing the weakest objects in this guy's mouth. As the beetles get bigger, the objects
so I didn't
will
waste
get
any
bigger
time, and I just
until
went
at the end, I'm going to be putting my finger in this guy's mouth.
And he sort of started to close his mandibles on it,
Thankfully,
but I'm not
I get
gonna
to start
lie,
with
it
this
was
little
a
guy.
kind of lackluster effort. I
This
even
is called
tried
a
putting it in at different angles to see if he could actually crush it, but yeah, he wasn't really doing a good job. So I decided to give him an easier object to crush, a paper towel. There's not that many animals that have a purple color like this, so yeah, it's pretty cool. And I already built this guy yet again, even after putting it right at the super sharp pretty small. That's exactly how they didn't really make much of an just chill around all day.
Bruh, nah, these beetles got the object I'm going to test with this guy is a little pack of jelly. Technically, you can't even bite through cardboard or even a paper towel.
Now, beetles like this are
what are these
cool,
mandibles
because
for?
they got their mandibles here. This is
these are actually insane creatures. They're super
mouth
cool.
is actually under the mandibles right
Anyways,
here.
what I'm really excited about is
the reason they have mandibles is so in the wild, the males can fight each other, and whoever wins the fight gets to go home with the female beetle. Pretty interesting. But anyways, I went and finally time for the craziest and also largest beetle stuff like jelly or fruit. And in fact, I think this jelly is banana flavored, which is one of the beetle's favorite foods. So I thought this dude was just going to start devouring it up right away. But in fact, he seemed kind of defensive and actually started attacking it with his mandibles. These guys really kind of started to shove it in his face. Unlike other beetles in this video, and they literally have fur on them. Because he actually, that's how you know they eat it, and it's actually very mentioning they have these absolutely really just sucked all the juiciness out of it. What?
So
the mandibles
let's
are
close this for
basically
now,
like
and let's actually go and get out. And I got a pretty solid sized enclosure for this guy, but I'll once again be doing this test outside the tank since
this is called a giraffe. Before I put my finger in the mandibles, I first got something like very close to a finger, but a slightly different version with these way larger.
Yeah, I got a carrot because you know whenever I see videos of people like testing their fingers and stuff like Carter Windows or something, they always use a carrot first as like a good representation of what it's like before a finger. And imagine he just chops.
All right, now for the object. For this kind of trash, I've got a little piece of cardboard. Oh, also, I'm gonna take the beetle out of the
Anyways, I wouldn't put the carrot in the mandibles, so I didn't waste any time. And I just guys, to be honest, I was kind of expecting this to rip through the carrot, mandibles on it, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a kind of lackluster effort. I even tried putting it in at different angles to see if he could actually crush it, but yeah, he wasn't really doing a good job. So I decided to give him an easier object to crush, a paper towel. Surely he could at least make a hole through this with his insanely sharp mandibles. But yet again, even I'm gonna be completely honest, this basically felt yeah, it didn't really make much of it.
It's a little bit of a pinch, but it is not
these beetles.
You might be thinking, intimidating mandibles. This thing is so weak, and well, I actually kind of knew it was going to be that weak. I'm not gonna lie. Or even a paper towel, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What are these mandibles for? You can't even bite through this stuff. No, I'm just kidding. No, these are actually insane creatures. They're super cool. Let me get this guy back in his enclosure. Anyways, what I'm really excited about is testing this bad boy's bite. Well, I mean, I'm not actually that excited. I do gotta put my finger in here, but let's just do this.
Yep, it's finally time for the craziest and also largest beetle in the world. A Hercules beetle.
You guys have no idea how hard it was for me to get my hands on one of these. They were out of stock everywhere, and I had to message so many people, but I finally did. It was super expensive, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, these guys live in the South American rainforests, and unlike other beetles in this video, they literally have fur on them. Yeah, that's how you know they're exotic. But that's not even mentioning they have these absolutely bonkers mandibles. Cause of what? The mandibles are basically like double the size of the body.
And I got a pretty solid sized enclosure for this guy, but I'll once again be doing this test outside the tank since they're so massive.
Now, before I put my finger in the mandibles, I first got something very close to a finger to find out the real damage I was about to face.
Yeah, I got a carrot, because you know, whenever I see videos of people like testing their fingers and stuff like car door windows or something, they always use a carrot first as like a good representation of what it's like before a finger. Bro, imagine he just chops clean through this carrot, and then I'm gonna have to put my finger in right after that. Jeez.
Anyways, I wouldn't put the carrot in the mandibles without wasting any time. And guys, to be honest, I was kind of expecting this to rip through the carrot because they just look vicious. But after moving the carrot over tons of different parts of the mandibles, the most the beetle did was give a very light pinch to the carrot. And yeah, all it took was a bit of wiggling. I just put my finger in, found the perfect position to get pinched in the best way, and then the beetle started to close his horn mandibles down a bit. But I'm gonna be completely honest, this basically felt like nothing.
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a pinch, but it is not bad at all. Now, you might be thinking, bruh, Terrarium, what was that? This thing is so weak, and well, I actually kind of knew it was gonna be that weak, I'm not gonna lie.
You see, I took an interest to the one in the forest area. You see, this one immediately started to crawl all around her new home and even made her way up to the roof of the enclosure. There on the roof, you can see she started to walk around with a little strand of silk coming out the end of the abdomen. She was already building a web. Spiders, of course, do this to catch prey, and black widows in specific have some of the strongest silk out of any spider, which is somehow produced in these little silk glands that they have. Anyways, I left the black widow to continue with that, and the next day I came back and opened up the top of the enclosure. You could see the area where she was constructing the web, and now she was hiding in this little crevice. So much for building this enclosure. I built all this forest area just for the spider to make her web right in this little area. Well, at least she has something, because that means now I can try and feed her a bunch of different types of food to see which they like the most, starting with mealworms. Now, I wanted to start small, and as you can see, these mealworms I bought are absolutely minuscule. They're barely the size of the tip of my finger, but hopefully the spider will still like them. Using some tweezers, I dropped a mealworm straight into the spider's web, and immediately it started to squirm around to try and escape. But spider webs are specifically designed to keep little insects like this stuck in them. All the wiggling around made the black widow come awake, and soon it even crawled out, only to walk right by the mealworm and run away. In fact, this black widow tried to make a grand escape and even webbed down the side of my table onto the floor.
Oh, no, do not go under the table, do not go under the table.
Anyways, I ended up scooping it into a container where I then dropped another mealworm in front of him, and once again, he didn't want to eat it. Okay, well, clearly this black widow's not trying to eat any mealworms, so instead, I've got a bag of some tiny little crickets. And these I'm gonna feed to the second black widow in the cave area. Now, if you remember, I put this spider in the enclosure on this little plastic lid where I already had a web, and since putting it in 2 2 days ago, it still hasn't moved at all. It might be dead actually. But anyways, I put in some crickets to see if it would eat. And literally right away, one of the crickets jumped towards the spider and jolted him awake, which I guess was a good sign because the spider was now finally moving. But when I tried to bring the cricket back, it scared the spider and it ran away into the cave. I almost lost track of the spider until I came across her again on top of the enclosure where she had somehow escaped to. I tried to feed her a cricket once again, but she just was not having it, so I scooped her back into the plastic container. Well, it looks like this black widow is also not eating, which usually would mean I would go test the third and final food source, which was gonna be just crickets, but a bit bigger. But I kind of have bad news because I don't really have a spider to feed these to. Yes, you heard that right. Since putting the third spider into the house interior section 2 days ago, I haven't seen it at all. It literally escaped my enclosure. And now, not only did I have one missing, but I also had 2 more that weren't eating. This is genuinely the worst idea I've had for a video. Like, pet black widow. Like, what am I thinking? One has escaped and is literally crawling around my garage. There's only one way I can make this up for the content. I gotta let the black widow crawl on my arm, just like I saw Coyote Peterson do at the start of the video. So, let's not waste any time. Let me get my mom in here. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
All right, I'm bringing you in here today because I got a special job for you. As you know, I always keep the weirdest pets. And can you guess what pet's in here based off the decorations?
Oh my gosh. Is it a black widow?
Yeah, it's a black widow.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you see those paintings on the wall?
Yeah, I do.
A black widow? Isn't that cool?
No.
Why? Okay, I got them onto this little tray for you. And basically, you can see it right there. What do you
No,
think?
no.
Say hi.
No. I wouldn't keep that as a pet.
Why? It's cute. Well, I did say I have a job for you. So can you hold the camera?
Oh my gosh, you are not gonna put this on you.
Here, hold the camera. All right, as you see, we got the black widow in a nice little clear container. And I'm just gonna start by literally putting it on my sleeve like this until it crawls out. You see, the plan is to have it crawl onto my sleeve, and then from there, it'll crawl onto my hand. So I basically just waited until it started to crawl out. I have to be super calm right now. But as you could have guessed, of course things went wrong. Because as you can see, it just started to grasp onto the edge of the container and not let go at all. I was probably making it pretty mad, so I quickly transferred it to a piece of cardboard. Okay, so I decided to just put him onto a piece of cardboard, and I'll let him crawl out here. And after gathering together a bunch of courage, I just moved the cardboard in front of my hand to let it happen. Okay, I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1.
Lord Father, Jesus, please. Oh God, Lord Father, please. Okay, it's time to go off. It's time to go off, Lord Father.
Oh,
Oh, that was so nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh, how did you feel doing that?
the heart was going 500 beats a second. Well, there you have it. Probably the stupidest pet I've ever kept. Anyways, have a good day, or night, or afternoon, or morning, and goodbye, and subscribe too. I just got this in my car, and we gotta take this home to see if the axolotl inside is gonna be able to survive. And I really hope it's okay, because if it is, I'm gonna completely revamp this home into a dream home paradise so we can give this axolotl his best life. Quickly, I went home and set up a filter in the water so I would be able to see inside. But after letting it run for 30 minutes, the water literally did not clear up at all. Okay, I have no time to waste, so I'm just gonna try and dig around and scoop it out with this net, even though I can't see anything. So I started to take each decoration out one by one, and it didn't take long until I saw this little thing at the bottom of the net. I had found the axolotl, and thankfully it was still in good health. So I quickly moved it out into a temporary tank and was super surprised by what I saw. Guys, how bad this tank is. Pretty much every decoration's a fake plastic one. The substrate is absolutely nasty, and just the whole thing has no structure to it. It's just plain ugly. So I took out all the trash decorations and threw them in the garbage where they belong. Then I emptied out all the sand, since I'm pretty sure that's what was causing the water to be so brown. And finally, what the heck is this, bro? Why did the seller's uncle just tape a picture of bamboo on the wall? It doesn't fit, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, axolotls don't live with bamboo. Yeah, that is so dumb. Let's rip this trash off of there. Anyways, now that we're back to the bare bones of this tank, the first step is to build the lake bed base. To build that, we start by just putting a ton of sand in here and piling it up in a mound in the middle of the tank, because I have a cool idea for this. You see, axolotls live at the bottom of lakes in the wild, so to build that in here, I stuck some wooden branches in the sand and surrounded them in a ton of river rocks. which if you're wondering the names of them, this type is called a Tahaiji stone, and this one is called a Seiryu stone. Yeah, I don't know who names these, but I would just call them smooth stone and rough stone. Those are better names. Anyways, I also want to cover these mounts in tons of aquatic plants, which if you've seen my channel before, you know these are extremely expensive. I mean, look at all of these. This totals to $125. Please subscribe. Well, I forced myself to forget the price while I planted them around, and I made it look absolutely beautiful. I put the taller plants near the back of the mound and the smaller plants up near the front, since it adds some nice depth in here, or something like that. All right, it's starting to look pretty good, but to complete the sides, this is where we're going to put the custom DIY builds. And you see, in the wild, axolotls like to hide in little rock caves because that's where they feel safe from predators. So I'm gonna build a custom little cave on the right side, and to start that, I found this basket in my house. Oh, this is gonna work perfectly. Let's just get that out of there. With this, I started by getting out a heavy-duty saw and cutting a hole in it that would serve as the entrance to the cave. And then I quickly sanded down the rough edges and used my hot glue gun to start gluing these little thin gray rocks all around it to obviously give it that cave look. And after I was done gluing all those on, it actually looked pretty solid. But as you can see, some of the hot glue I used to connect it was still exposed, so I quickly covered that in some pebbles. Once I was done, I put the enclosure in, and it didn't really fit. So I took it out and rearranged some of the rocks and put it back in, and boom, perfect fit. There we go. I think that cave looks pretty good in the grand scheme of things, and yeah, it is a pretty small entrance to get inside, but obviously the rare axolotl is still a baby, so it should be able to fit in there just fine. Anyways, I finished it off by putting some plants right out in front and a couple big rocks on top to make it look more cavey. There we go. Everything's starting to come together well, but now it's time to design the left side. And if you guys remember, that first version of the tank had this big, ugly, like bamboo wallpaper along the back. But anyways, this did actually get me kind of inspired, and for the left side, I want to make it just like bamboo themed, you know? We got to keep a little bit of the original, because I guess it wouldn't really be transforming if we didn't. So let's get that done. For the first decoration, I of course got out some brown sticks of bamboo, so it'd be bamboo-y, you know? And on each stick of bamboo, I started to drill little holes. You see, axolotls like to have resting spots near the top of their enclosures. That way they can easily swim up and gulp air from the surface. So to build something like that, I got out some string and started to thread all the bamboo together. I kind of felt like a grandma doing this, you know, sewing away with a needle. Yeah, it was pretty fun though. Anyways, I hot glued the ends of the string so they wouldn't move, and boom, check this out. A bamboo hammock that the axolotl can rest on. In order to get it attached to the top of the enclosure, I once again used some hot glue to put on some little suction cups, and in no time it was complete. All right, there we go. Check the hammock out. I'm sure the axolotl is gonna like to lay on this, and yeah, to complete this left side, we're gonna add a little more bamboo decoration. And so in the sand, I want to put some live actual bamboo. It's curly for some reason, I don't really know why, but I'm gonna plant this in the sand. So I put each of the bamboos there under the hammock and covered it in a mound of sand. But I'm not done yet. I've been saving the coolest addition for last. And this next thing is gonna take this from a normal aquarium to, well, if I'm being honest, it's probably still gonna be kind of normal, but it's gonna be cooler looking. Now to build this thing, I first got out some giant plastic boards and glued them together to make one giant board. Then I covered it all with some black felt. Now you're probably wondering why I built this giant black platform, but basically the reason is because I can go and put it right behind the tank just like this. And then now what I'm gonna do is use these things called plant pockets, glue them to the back of that, and basically what this allows me to do is, you know, put plants in them, and we're gonna have some overhanging plants in here. But first I needed to go get the plants, so like always I drove to Walmart. Okay, I'm at Walmart now, and look at this. Or this is usually where all the plants are, and for some reason they replaced them all with plastic Christmas trees. Who cares about these? I want my plants back. All they got is these stupid roses. Yeah, it turns out the plants are gone from Walmart for the season, so instead I had to go to a normal, boring plant shop and get the plants there. Okay, I was kind of sad that I had to abandon Walmart, but this was only like $50 for all these plants. Like, dang, that's actually a good deal. It's definitely cheaper than those aquatic plants. We don't talk about those, though. When I got home, I got out the plants and put them all inside their little pockets. And dang, check this whole thing out. It actually looks all right. Just don't go around and look at the back. Yeah, it's kind of curving, but honestly, it kind of gives a cool effect, and you know, it makes the plant leaves drip over the top. Anyways, now to complete the build, I just gotta do some finishing touches. And what that means is I first filled it up with some cycled water and attached a filter on it. Okay, I've never used one of these filters before, but apparently it's pretty cool.
I just gotta go and plug it in down here.
And dang, check this out. Look, it's like a waterfall. It makes a bunch of these little water streams. But I guess when I want it to be quiet, I can just go like that, and there we go. Can't really hear it anymore. Now I saved the best thing for last, this little gift present. Okay, this is actually cool what's inside. Basically, it's this little glass crystal ball with a hologram of an axolotl inside. There we go. So what you do is you put it on this little platform, and basically it just kind of glows there and changes colors. Anyways, this is now completely transformed, and it's time to not only add in the golden axolotl to his new home. So I scooped it up out of its temporary enclosure, and bada bing, bada boom, welcome to your new home. Right away, he started to explore around his new tank and eventually made his way into the cave I built for him. Okay, so the axolotl's in the cave right now.